Welcome to Synergy, everyone. We have an exciting show for you today. We have Tammy, Antoinette, Mikeska on the show, and she is a transformation coach, and she is an astronomer, astrologer, and basically guides people through the process of rediscovering and transforming their lives. So, welcome to the show, Tammy. It's great to have you on, and thank you for being here with us today. This is fantastic. This is one of my favorite things to do. And so let's get into some Q&A. I would like to know about what started you on this mission, what your early life was, what the origins of this incarnation, if that is the correct parlance to use, was for you.
Oh, Paul, thank you for the beautiful introduction, and I'm happy to be here. So, what started me on my journey? Wow, mine has been a lifetime. Right now, I'm remembering whenever I was a small child and growing up in the church, and and the teachings of my mother and the teachings of prayer, and I mean that was really my biggest teaching was just like trusting and having faith um and realizing the power of prayer. And that's when I started to petition heaven. And then I've always been looking beyond, outside the matrix, outside this world, this physical world that we're in, to look out and for, well, what's the solution? There's infinite possibilities, there's
Mm,
miracles, right? So just that belief was instilled into me from a young age. And then I have had many deep transformational experiences, that took me on different paths. So, of course, away from the church to to uh, to find my own connection with God, regardless of what others told me what that meant,
mm,
right? And then so I went deep into the science, into the esoteric sciences. And so it's like whenever you start studying esoteric science, what I've found, and for me, I've learned, my own experience was when I started studying esoteric science, it took me a little further from God. But then whenever I dove even deeper into it and deeper into the intricacies of the sciences, then it brought me closer to God than ever. So it was like this cycle, this spiral, right?
mm-hmm,
And um, so all about, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and then of course my own transformational experiences, just through life, just through going through really traumatic experiences, and then going so deep into them. So like addictions and mental issues that were never diagnosed, because I didn't want to be diagnosed.
mm.
And even like a stillborn child,
Oh
and
boy.
um and actually dying and then coming back, right? um so many experiences that I've had, um where I've it's like, in my experience, I was literally like diving for light. It was like going into a dark abyss and not knowing if I was ever going to come out the other side, and really like suffering and cocooning, and then going into that deep sense of trust. It was like whenever I had that deep sense of trust, then that's when I was able to get through it and come out the other side. And then I was always blessed with so much knowledge and wisdom after those very, very rich experiences. of, yeah, it, just extreme
Now, what faith were you raised in?
Southern Baptist.
Southern Baptist. Okay, so they're really strict. Are they
Yeah.
really strict, or is that just regular Baptist? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Like they have to save your soul. You're going to go to hell if they don't save your soul. So that's pretty extreme, right?
Yeah, well, well, you mentioned something. I heard that quote before. A little science will take you away from God, but deeper study of science will bring you back into it, and I found that for most people that have had a near-death experience in their life and have had some of these transformational issues, addiction, and traumatic experiences, mental illness, and so forth, that they get more of a transcendent experience of knowing God. When I went to
Absolutely.
Sunday school, they taught me the rules. They taught me, all the things I'm supposed to do. Do right. Don't do, don't kill anyone. Don't rape. Don't steal, and so on and so forth. But I never, those are all good moral values, but I never really felt connected to anything from that. It was from stuff like meditation and, and the pain and the misery. And then later on, using plant medicine occasionally to get into deeper realms for that as a spiritual experience. Did you have any particular mentors that stood out to you while you were growing up or later?
Well, while I was growing up, it was my mother. She taught me, my parents, of course, there was a lot they taught me. They taught me those rules, right? And
Hmm.
even, and especially like the strategy of prayer. That was really big for me, to go actually through the strategy, like an actual prayer pattern,
Hmm.
um, to go through the darkness and then come out the other side. So that's probably like my number one skill to this day, but also, um, just like the trauma that has been created through the ancestral lineage and passed to me, and then I was passing it on to my children.
Mm.
So that kind of mentorship is kind of like darker, like just being able to see, kind of like get a detached perspective and see all the patterns that are happening and where they came from, and to pinpoint where they came from in the lineage, and how to shift it, how to change it so that it stops and it never gets passed forward again, so that I can clean up my whole lineage, I can clean my legacy and level up my legacy, through my children, and the healing. Um, I mean, as far as like mentorship, when I was younger, it was like those scary traumatic things that kept me held back and kept me in tunnel vision. So that were the gift, that were the biggest mentors. And then learning the esoteric sciences, and there was, I mean, I dove deep into functional medicine for over 20 years. I was partnered with some of the best doctors in the world. I still am, just not as closely. I do more my own thing now. Um, for over 20 years, I was partnered with some of the best functional medicine doctors and healers in the world. And I learned so much from them, so much rich education and through their certifications. And then I studied astrology on my own. And it was kind of these things, all these things I kind of did on the down low, because it was ingrained into my patterning that they were wrong and I should feel guilty and shameful
Mm.
for even studying these alternative ways, right? But and then I had astrology sessions with astrologers. I had activations, I had readings, And then I found this one astrologer, a Babylonian astrologer. And right when I got in front of him, he looked at me. He's like, "Why are you calling me? You're like, you're an astrologer." And I'm like, "No, I'm not an astrologer." And he said, "Oh, you're not? Well, you not yet, huh? Well, you will be, and you're going to be a great, great astrologer." And then he started like showing me like why and how and all the intricacies. And then it just like a light bulb went off, and I was like, "Oh, like I've actually been holding myself back from my authenticity." Like this, it felt such a deep sense of like comfort and validation, which we're taught not to seek validation from others, right? But I really needed that because I was like stuck in these loops of like I'm not supposed to do that, right? Because of my conditioning as a child.
Mm.
But it was like it just like set me free, that one thing. And I was like, wow, I have to be able to do this for other people. And so that just set up the structure, so that all the tools that I use are interwoven into this this sacred science, the queen of the
Hmm.
science, Babylonian astrology.
I want
And
to step back before we go too far into the breaking of the cycles, of the ancestral cycles. Now, you look to me, I'm terrible at guessing people's, you look like you're in your 20s to me. How old are your children? How many children do you have?
so my daughter she'll be 17 in just a few days.
Holy
And then I
moly.
have two sons. My boys are 24 and 28.
Wow. So you're aging in reverse right now. So you're doing, now, was this progression through this self-discovery and so forth, had this started, was it in development during raising your children? So let me go. I was still in addiction. I was still in mental illness for most of my children's youth before I was able to come out of it. They didn't have a terrible life. I wasn't abusive or so forth. They had three meals on the table. I didn't know how to emotionally connect with them and so on and so forth. But what I saw happen was when I started, the better I got, the better they got.
Mm-hmm.
I had tried to quit using drugs and drinking many, many times, and it failed, and so forth. But once it set in, the healing became so much more rapid with my adult children at that time, and now we are redeveloping relationships. My oldest is 34. She's going to be 34 in September. My middle daughter is 28, and my son is 27. And what I saw was that when I started doing the healing from the past, and I started forgiving my family and so forth for the trauma that they inadvertently, I'd say inadvertently caused from lack of knowledge and from ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
When that started happening, I started seeing rapid. I mean, my son's mowing my lawn now. He moved back in. He's still discovering his way, but he actually mows the lawn. I ate his burrito the other day, and he didn't get pissed at me.
Oh.
That's some advancement. So, did you see a lot of that as you were growing, the growth within your children?
Oh, absolutely. Like I didn't purposefully start my path of personal growth and development and all the inner work and all these things till I was in my 30s. And I had my first son when I was 20. So like I can see like the damage the damage that I did. It was
Mm,
really patterns I passed down to them that I inherited, and then different ones to each child. But also, yeah, as I do my development, as I like lift these weights and these burdens and 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 these cycles away, right? Do the
mm,
repattern, then they they come into their authenticity more, and they have less issues, they have less it's like internal war within, less there's less triggers. Our relationship gets better, has gotten better. And especially with my daughter, you know, I've got a teenage daughter, and she's definitely been through her own stuff, even with her father. You know, you can't do it. Like, I'm divorced, right?
Mhm.
So it's like whenever their other parent isn't doing the inner work, then I mean, you can only do your part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I can help guide her through it, or if she's resistant to my guidance because she's a teenager, um, so I can also just it's like I can deliver it into her, as because she's part of me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
without without leading her through like I do my clients. It's like I just like just activate her, just turn her on just by her being in my presence.
I actually I don't believe in coincidence. A friend of mine got me a BOGO. She got a BOGO for masterclass, and there's a guy on there that now sells his negotiation skills to corporate America and so on and so forth. Christopher Voss, and I did his master class on there, and I was arrogant at first. I thought, oh, I'm already pretty good at negotiating. I don't really need this. But she had given me the BOGO as a gift, and she was kept going on about this guy, and I learned a ton with that. I actually, it was during the phase where my kids were still very angry and resistant to me with anything, you know. There was a lot of stomping around the house and slammed cupboards and so on and so forth, you know. And I also, you know, my oldest daughter is my stepdaughter, and that's from my wife's previous marriage. And you got to be the hero a lot. He was, you know, if I look at the DSM, which I do, you know, he fits every criteria of a narcissistic personality disorder. And we had to let her discover that on her own, because I don't know. You can feel the vibe that we didn't like the guy, but I'm not going to, you know, denigrate him or slander him to my daughter. But that can be a heck of a trial right there, to have to step up and be the hero. So kudos for that. Kudos for that. I mean, and I can give you some tips on negotiating with them that actually I'll tell a little story, and I'm going on too much. I'm loquacious. My son was wasting too much butter. You know, I wasn't working at the time, and he's using like a quarter of a stick of butter to fry one egg. And he's not going to listen to any lectures from me at all. Nothing. He doesn't want to hear crap from me. I'm the loser that used too many drugs and so on and so forth. And I took that class, and I was like, what? Wait a minute, how can I reframe this? I reframed it as, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'd like to get you what you want to eat. Is that okay if we have a talk about that? And you know, it's, oh, of course, yeah, I want some salami, I want some cold cuts. I only have so much to spend on groceries, and I'm spending $5 a pound on butter, and it's like, oh, I'll just use I'll use less butter when I you know, when I cook, you know. He volunteered it, so that's a good one if you can ever use that, you know, to reframe it to get them to. And I was just so surprised that that actually happened, you know. But your transformational moment, that is incredible. I remember mine, because it was so profound, you know, at the moment that all my trauma had become completely and totally useful to others, you know. This is exciting. I'm going on too much about that. Now, do you have daily disciplines that you do to keep yourself spiritually fit? You know, meditation, qigong, yoga, you know, mindfulness, any of those?
Oh, absolutely. A number one practice for me to keep myself like really tuned up is to watch the sky. Like literally, like allow those divine light, the impulse of those lights of, so it can be the first morning ray of the sun, like the fresh light, like right when Venus is birthed as a new morning star or a new
Mm.
evening star after she's been out from under the rays of the sun. Like the eyes, literally, they say they're the windows to the soul, but they really are. Like you can not just like, not just for communication, but for communication. It's like we want that fresh, that pure frequency to enter. Then we have to look, we have to open our eyes, we have to look at the sky.
How many
So,
people
and that's,
are how many people
mhm.
just stumble upon you at Walmart and tell you their whole life story?
Oh my gosh, that's happened recently. So yeah,
The
that's
grocery
happened.
store, and I got like the kid's whole day at the checkout. He's
Uh-huh.
checking out two things, and I intently listened to him, about his phone running out of charge and everything else. But it just it can be perilous too, because I think when you are at a different frequency, you attract so much because you're a safe space. You bring the
Yeah.
safe space with you wherever you are. And that can be dangerous if, in my field, psychology and working with the mentally ill, I work with a lot of control freaks and narcissists who get into that field, which is terrible. But it's like sex predators gravitate towards Boy Scouts and the priesthood and so forth. Well, a lot of narcissists gravitate towards the psychological field because they like to have that respect and that control over others, which is sad to say. But have you had any experiences with that? With empaths usually have, great deal of narcissists come in their path.
Oh, absolutely. So it runs in my mother's side of the family. So, um, the narcissist, the sociopath, right? But I can see the wound too. So yeah, so that's what's comfortable for me because that was the pattern. That was what was comfortable for me. So that's what I would attract and be attracted to, so that I could confront it and be triggered by it and work it out and transform from it. It's like it keeps reoccurring until you transform it, right? So yeah, I attracted pretty dark relationships because of what was passed down, because I was looking to heal that, it was, the trigger was there. So, and that's the whole like chemistry of a relationship, right? Is so that the triggers can come up and heal our wounds. So, oh yeah, definitely. But also, um, as I continue, like there's layers and layers and layers of of more to shed, to reprogram. And as I continue, um, then I mean, I'm attracting the most beautiful relationships, the most reciprocal relationships, the most supportive relationships. Like people just I'm just so amazed at the high caliber of people, and the purity of their hearts when they show up, the people who show up for me. And yeah, like both the men and the women. And so I'm really enjoying that right now. I'm enjoying having that high level of support and camaraderie without even like going to look for it. Uh, so I think that's one of my biggest blessings, that I'm
Now,
just like
it is it my greatest high these days is when I watch the lights turn back on in someone else's eyes. They've gone into the darkness and they come out of the darkness and something glows from within. and I can feel it in my heart. My heart is very soft, strong, but it's soft. It's hard for a long time. Um, but that is truly one of the greatest things that I get to experience on the regular. Now, as far as we've mentioned some esoteric work, is there any particular authors that really stood out in this line? I've read Steiner, I've read Swedenborg, I've read oh God, it's too many to think of right now, along those lines and so forth in my search for kind of what pervades all religions,
Hmm.
and what is the underlying, because I believe that we can read scripture, like whether it's the Tao Te Ching or the Pentateuch or New Testament or so forth. We can read between the lines on those and get so much more out of them, so much of a deeper understanding, that they become living documents and change as we read them. Who are some of your favorites?
Oh, goodness. So this is such a rich area for me. Rudolf Steiner, definitely. I actually went through the Waldorf teacher training.
Oh, nice. To
Yeah.
describe that, I don't know about that.
Oh, it was magical. So it's basically it's the teachings of anthroposophy and of the human.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so important, so rich. And it's Rudolf Steiner's most prized work, he always said, was
Mm-hmm.
the Waldorf teacher training.
Oh,
And
okay.
um so yeah, I've definitely dove into a lot of his work, um a lot of the other extension, the medicine also, the healing work, with the physical body, and with like the personality and what's best for each stages of life, and like really deeply understanding the human spirit and the human evolution, from these different stages of life, from birth, or even like before conception,
Mm-hmm.
all the way till like after death, right? So all the intricacies of the stages of life, and just like the richness and the beauty in those that we want to highlight, that we want to bring out in each individual human being, is like that pure essence, the authenticity of who they are, which everyone's different. Um, so there's different layers to this work, but to like raise a human being, to raise a child, to be, through the Waldorf teacher training, was a lot of inner work, so much inner work, so that the Waldorf teacher can be a place of nourishment, rather than like creating more trauma, because that children will like totally trigger us left and right, right? Um, and
Oh, yeah.
and and we want to be able to transcend that, to you know to make that be like a healing thing. Like, we don't want to be triggered by our children, or especially if you're a teacher. Like, we've heard of so many traumatic experiences from that we've had from our teachers, because they didn't do their inner work, right?
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. Yeah, a ton. I learn my most valuable lessons these days from assholes. If you can
Yeah.
still trigger me, kudos. It's an area I haven't worked on yet. If it could actually make me raise my emotions to fight or flight, then you've hit an area that I haven't yet worked on, and I need to look at. But now, and I think you said it before, we were talking about the narcissist as well, was that I understand them so well now. And I had a great component of narcissism in myself with my addiction and so forth, that I can't even really get angry at anyone, because I know they're coming out of fear. I know where they're coming from and so on. That can be can be annoying because sometimes it would be nice to just sit there and be pissed off. But I choose not to remain in that. It's not comfortable. I'd rather not remain there. Now, do you have specific moments? I'm remembering Steiner in my reading and stuff. I know my trial by fire. I know my trial by water. Not sure about my trial by air, if that's come yet or not, but I can remember each one, completely. Do you have those, like, I know this is off a little bit off topic, but do you know which ones were which?
Um, well, the Waldorf teacher training that I did was over 10 years ago.
Okay.
And so I would have to go back and look at my books and notes if I
Okay.
wanted to dive into that because it is so intricate. But yeah, you did bring something up a minute ago, and I wanted to speak into that, but I don't remember what it was now.
Okay.
Well,
Brainstorm.
you were just talking about um before we're talking about Steiner, and then oh, the triggers. Yes, the people around us
The
triggering
a-holes
us.
being your teacher.
Yes, but oh my gosh. Yeah, during COVID, I saw it coming, right? I saw it coming, and I was like, oh, I have to prepare myself. I decided, I was like, I'm not going to participate in any of that. I saw exactly like what it was and why and everything. So I was like, oh yeah, that's not for me. So
Yeah.
I really like powered up. I did a lot of inner work to like really expand my heart energy so big and so strong that it was like part of my identity that I could go into places completely unmasked. Um, if they would let me in. Sometimes I did get kicked out. I'm in Texas, so it wasn't
Mm,
like terrible here, but
yeah.
but in Austin, it is, they are more strict over there because the demographic, but I would go in and I would get yelled at. People were in, so whenever they're in a state of fear, they're in this like fight or flight because they're like watching the news and, oh my God, this is all these terrible things are happening, fight or flight, fear. They would get so angry at me, they lose all sense of reasoning. But I was able to, yeah, I didn't, I would feel rattled by them a little bit sometimes, but I used it as an opportunity for my own personal growth out in the world, just to like be triggered, like allow myself to be triggered, but also allow myself to respond with peace and with diplomacy and with forgiveness. So I actually used it as a practice. So you say, like, what are my daily
Mm,
practices? I just go out in the world and it's like do all these things live out in the world, right? And then people things attract to me in like um a rapid timing. It's like rapid fire. Opportunities open up, and so it's not so much like I spend 2 hours meditating or anything like that. It's like, no, I get myself out in the world and I allow the activations to happen. I allow the triggers to happen, and then
oops, I am
um,
so
I
sorry.
work through
Sorry
them.
about that. I gotta make that setting go away on the computer. So sorry.
Yeah, but I didn't see anything happen.
My progression through COVID started in the beginning was not wanting to wear a mask, and people were getting pissed and going around, and by the end I would just wear it because I didn't want to trigger someone's fear. I just started, okay, I'm just going to wear this. I don't need to trigger someone's fight or flight. I don't need to trigger their fear. They're already fearful enough, and so on. Now, you mentioned working a great deal with functional medicine. Are we talking Western allopathic medicine and so forth?
No, this is like I mean some, but not alternative medicine.
Oh, okay.
So
Because
I was partnered with chiropractors and osteopaths, and I was partnered with uh yeah, doctors of of not that were not like under the government restricted umbrella.
okay, yeah, yeah, I've had a great deal of frustration working within the limitations of Western medicine. It's all drugs. There's no real personal accountability. They take that off the table. And so they're almost creating their own problems. And I think they do it on purpose because it gives them more customers, to be honest. Um,
Mhm.
if you could
Oh
sell
yeah,
somebody a
it's
pill
money.
forever,
Yeah, it's big money when people are sick. Mhm.
and they've made a society that sadly I'm seeing both sides. I'm seeing people that are like you, that are like myself, that are getting into more spiritual areas, more growth areas, less allopathic medicine, incorporating meditation, incorporating some yoga and qigong. And then I'm seeing the other end of the spectrum of just incredibly fearful people that are just watching the news every chance they get, and so on and so forth, and have shirked personal responsibility based on genetics. And we know that epigenetics is a real thing now, and that we control how we activate those proteins in our cells by what we think and by our environments and so on and so forth. That we can control those. Bruce Lipton, by accident, one of those coincidences again. I was watching YouTube, and I just typed in like Anunnaki or aliens or something, and I was like 4 months sober. I was miserable. I was laying on the couch. It's like my baby step was to get out of bed, to go to the couch because I was so depressed I wanted to stay in bed all day. And in the queue that would just play videos, Bruce Lipton comes up. It's like 3.5 hours of biology of belief. Are you familiar with him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've read all his stuff. It was actually he was in the beginning of my inner work. It was like whenever I first started my inner work, I picked up his books first, and like a lot of quantum physics also.
I watched Biology of Belief on his lecture series. It was just the reason I watched it. I'm going to tell you the reason I watched it. I was too lazy to do a crunch on the couch to grab the remote to flip to the next thing about aliens. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is. And then 5 minutes in, I'm completely engaged into it. So first for me started prayer, which I didn't want to do. But they outlogicked me. The people that came into my life that mentored me were like, we pray, we're happier than you. Okay, I couldn't argue with that. It's like, yeah, you're fixing your families, you're not getting wasted all the time, things are going okay for you, and so on, and you pray. So I reluctantly started daily prayer, and it was like I'd light up my cigarette, I'd go to the door, and I'd be like, I was told there's something up there. Life sucks for me. I really could use some help if you exist. Uh, and then those coincidences, those synchronicities, started occurring regularly, too regularly to ignore them or pass them off as coincidences. Bruce Lipton came into that, and that was life changing, and so on. Now, when you're working with some of these high end clients and stuff, we're doing the transformation. I've noticed a trend in Western CEOs and capitalism and stuff, that corporate capitalism, that's discouraging. They're so focused on the power and getting an extra percent per quarter or something, that they lose focus on like a big picture and collaboration and creation where they could make a lot more. So as part of that transformation for these people, like, the whole softening of the heart and changing of their zeitgeist.
Oh, absolutely. The ones who come to me are the ones who, yeah, they're usually like stuck. They feel like they've been stuck at this certain level and they want to get past. And it's this level, it's what it requires is for them to go in deeper into their authenticity
Mm,
to acquire those like big bold visions and dreams that they haven't been able to accomplish. So oh yeah, yeah, we shed off the layers that hold them back, the whatever programming, conditioning, over over accomplishing, overwork, the stress, right? The which winning, like we were taught in like sports.
bigger, better, faster, more.
Yeah, and whenever
Yeah.
they can like more like shed that persona and like lean into more like trust and faith, but also when they're able to see their patterns, then those patterns are able to shift, right? Like the beliefs, the limiting beliefs that would hold them back, or the walls around their heart that keep them from having what they want, or what they want might not even be in the business world. They want to be happy. They want like their family life to be happy. They want their love life to be happy, right? They
Hmm.
want to have it all.
Yeah.
They want to have it all. Yeah.
Well, what
So
5-year-old wakes up one day and says, I would like a mediocre existence? That's what I want out of life.
yeah.
You know,
But a lot of people that they settle and they don't like, so I work with people who have like a strong drive and passion and who are going to do the personal development and the work that it takes, right? And it is those people, it's those people who are high achievers who will do the work if they really want it and if they find you and they really want to be happy and fulfilled in a more meaningful, deeply meaningful way rather than just like existing and winning, right?
exactly. Exactly. I never want anyone to work for me. I want people to work with me.
Mhm.
I want to find their authentic talent, what they love to do, and then let them go. There you go. Here's your talent. I could learn accounting. I'm pretty smart. I could go to school and learn. I have no interest in it at all. Why not get a guy who's jazzed about numbers and let him go at it? I need to know enough to that he's not stealing from me, and so on, and I can feel you mentioned authenticity. I can feel your authenticity coming across the screen. How much you love yourself right now, Tammy.
Oh, how much do I love? I mean, I love myself to infinity, right? I mean, I still confront the shadows and all the dark things, and then I wrap those in love too. I mean, and that's the key. Like whenever I'm online and I'm talking about something, and then or in front of anyone, especially online, people just like say whatever because they're hiding behind a screen.
Hmm.
So when I trigger a lot of people, I really trigger a lot in real life too. And so they'll try to attack me and it's like, or they're like, you're so boastful. What gives you the right to be so boastful? And I'm like, I'm just boastful. There's
Yeah, I don't even see it
a lot
like
of love
that
around it.
though, because you're being like I don't sit and look in the mirror anymore. There's a time in my life where I hated myself, so I would work out constantly. I'd have to have six-pack abs, everything. And as soon as I got away from the mirror or a photograph of myself or someone complimenting me, I was the same fat bullied child that I was in high school. So it never internalized for me, even though most of my life I had to have a 32 waist and look a certain way and so forth. But now if I catch my appearance, I'm like, oh, your wife is a lucky woman, Paul. You look really good. And it sounds a little boastful, but when I do groups for people, I tell them your inner monologue, you can be humble with other people when you're talking and stuff. But your inner monologue should be like Muhammad Ali trash talking before a fight. I am the greatest. I'm gonna get this, so
Oh,
I
it has to be. Otherwise, like I could just melt into, like, I could be under the covers, right? Like,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't be able to speak and do my work if I didn't have like, yeah, that solid sense of self-love, to where
Mhm.
other people, it might feel boastful, or it might feel like, oh, well, you're just like entitled, and you shouldn't, it's not attractive. Oh, it's not attractive for you to be so boastful.
It's attractive to the people you want to attract.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not for everyone. So that's what I
No, I have a
everyone.
shirt that I have a sweatshirt given to me by one of the artists that I interviewed on the show. I'm not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. I'm okay with that. People don't need to like me. I like me.
Yeah.
And so how did you, I mean, did you always have a good inner monologue, or was that something that you developed along the way?
I I had to do a lot of work to develop that along the way. Natural, like, I had low confidence. So I had to do a lot of work to develop that. I had to, like, really interrupt the patterns in real timing, as because, yeah, the thoughts, and they weren't my thoughts. They were coming from others. They were coming from past events. They're coming from, they weren't even anything about me, but the thoughts would come into my mind, like, who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you are trying to do that thing? Or, you should just do what you're told. Why do you think you're right? You're not right. How can how can it be so easy? It's not so easy. It has to be hard. Like, all the thoughts, right? Um, yeah, just catching them as they come in, like, being able to catch them is huge. And also not, like, guilting yourself and shaming yourself about having the thoughts to begin with, but just catching them is like a big win right there, just interrupting and choosing something different. So I've done so much reprogramming. Otherwise, yeah, I would not be here. I don't know what I'd be
I
I'd be in the
had to,
strip club,
that speaks to me completely of mindfulness and changing neural pathways. It's just like maybe I don't catch it right away, but as I start dwelling in that, and I think it was Jill Bolt Taylor, she was a neurologist in Boston and Massachusetts anyway, that had a stroke, and she wrote a book. I think it was called A Stroke of Insight. So she wrote about her stroke experience and so on, as a neurologist having a stroke. And she said that she discovered, along the way that feelings only last, there's only a 90-second window of feelings. So if my thoughts used to be, Paul, you're a loser, you're an idiot, you're not good enough, you're too fat, your kids don't like you, your wife's divorcing you, then that's going on loop,
Yep.
constantly. And so, maybe the feeling cycles are only 90 seconds, but if it's 9 years of those kind of thoughts, so it's 9 years of miserable feelings too. And I had to really study deeply, first the internal, what's happening when I'm starting to get angry, when I'm getting in fight or flight and stuff, what's making that happen, and which things are being affected in general. Like, is my pride, people disrespecting me, is it my sexual relationships, my personal relationships, or my finances? And now these all came from 12-step work, looking deeply into the 12 steps when I first got sober.
Mhm.
Really, and then my mental illness kicked in as a superpower, because when I started feeling a little bit better, I was
Yeah.
like, let's nitpick everything. If I get a little irritated driving, oh, I need to have more tolerance and forgiveness for the drivers on the road. And if 15 minutes of meditation works, let's see what an hour and a half will do. So that obsessive quality, that those neural pathways of, I had so many initials after my name: PTSD, ADHD,
Oh,
bipolar,
yeah.
treatment resistant depression, Asperger's, and so forth. That it's unbelievable. And I think I read that do you have Lyme
I
disease?
I have had the so Lyme is all often hard to find, but I
Mm,
yes, I had the Lyme co-infections,
okay.
which means you have Lyme. Yeah. But that was when I was in that functional partnered with a doctor in a romantic relationship, and it was like, you have Lyme and this is like the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. And I'm trying to fix it. And it's like once I got away from that, it was like, I don't know, it just most I'm fine.
My Lyme doesn't bother me at all anymore. It used to bother me when I thought about it. I'd
Yeah.
have joint aches. I was floating pain. I got to the point with it one time where I could not stay awake. I was so tired. Like literally, if I sat down, I would just go to sleep. But that was one of the things Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief changed. It's like, I'm just gonna stop thinking about that and thinking it's that way. So it's not really affecting you anymore.
No.
Nice.
What affects me the most are literally my own thoughts. And I had to through a process where I had to make sure, like, right when I woke up in the morning, like before I even opened my eyes, I would like push a button of like some recorded thoughts that I needed to program. Otherwise, the loops would start like right away before I even got out of bed, and it would just do me in, and I would I would get sick. Like, yeah, my thoughts are what make me sick. That's what makes or breaks me, because they create the feelings, they are the frequency that alters your biochemistry, that alters your physiology. It changes your whole ecosystem. So yeah, if you have these pathogens, we all have these pathogens in our bodies, but how's your ecosystem, right? How's the terrain set up? How's the frequency set up? How are you setting yourself up so that what's is it going to turn into like a swampland with mosquitoes, or is it going to be like this beautiful flourishing garden,
Nice.
right? So you can always adjust the ecosystem, and then you're not attacked. You're not like under attack anymore. It's really, you're under attack by your own thoughts
Was
or
that
not.
just natural and intuitive that you would start right at the beginning of opening your eyes? Because there is a lot of science behind waking and going to sleep, of using that time when you first wake up and when you're starting to go to sleep as a platform for manifestation and so forth, to learn how to get into hypnagogic state, which was one of the ways that I changed my thinking process. Now,
Mhm.
did that just come intuitively, or did you learn that from somewhere else?
I decided that that's just what I had to do because that's when the thoughts started. So I had to catch them before they started. I was like, I got to get them before they start. But
But
also I know about the different realms, like when we're in the in between, we're more susceptible and more open, right? So that time right before sleep and right when you wake up, you're in that in between zone where you're so vulnerable, and you can really have a big effect on yourself.
I have recently started practicing lucid dreaming. I saw this podcast. I'll just know the things I'm supposed to do. It's Maria Louise von Franz, who was a student of Carl Jung, called it and she talks, and it was, the title is something with alchemy, I forget. But she called it a truth instinct. Like when Bruce Lipton came and I was too lazy to grab the remote and turn it off, and then I just knew I should watch this 2.5 hour video of him just lecturing, which got pretty deep into the science and stuff behind it. But I think that's just an amazing thing that comes, and that to me, I guess when we understand the science completely, we can know why. But I think that started coming for me after I stopped deceiving myself about myself. And that was also one of my favorite Dostoevsky quotes from the brothers Karamazov. He said, above all, do not lie to yourself. The person who lies to themselves can no longer see the truth, and no longer being able to see the truth falls prey to all manners of bestial behavior and self-deceit, and carousing, drinking too much, chasing women, whatever it is, our vices and so forth. And that was a very telling thing. And so when I stopped, it's like, okay, if I'm getting fat, I can see it in the mirror. I'm getting fat. I don't need to go and get 10 people who I know will stroke my ego and say, no, you look perfect anymore. I can just say, nope, you gained weight. The scale tells you, the mirror tells you, go on a diet, exercise more, or whatever. I mean, do you feel like you have that when you're just drawn to certain things to try and so on?
Oh, absolutely. Um, yeah, whenever I decide like something needs to change or shift, or there's something that I want, then I mean, I can also see that I can see the patterns that are coming in the future too, as and like everything, I know everything happening in the universe in, moment by moment. I have that ability because I know the astrology. So I've learned to like use those waves of power, and to, whenever I see something coming up that will allow, like maybe bring more triggers for healing, that I'm going to use that. Or um I mean, and there's that intuition too, but also the old patterns can hold you back and keep you from living your highest potential. But I'm trying to stay on topic and answer the question, but I'm like, I get so excited.
No, you go where you want. You go where you want. I'm
But
captivated.
okay, like for example, I saw that there was and I felt it coming, and I felt that it needed to happen. Like, okay, it's time for me to come from this place and go to this place in my life, right? There are certain things that I want. Okay, I want to happen in my life. I want to be surrounded with, um, and it's time to make the jump. So I was looking and I was like, okay, well, there's this opportunity right here. So I actually showed up in front of someone who kept like opening this portal for me, because I saw in the cosmos that there was this once in a lifetime opportunity of massive like regeneration and 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 power, right? Empowerment,
Hmm.
um, to uplift my status. And I was like, what is that? Like, where am I gonna? Okay, well, it's coming. And then on the calculated moment that I saw that it was coming, like this guy kept opening up his calendar to me. He was, and there were other things that led up to that, but he kept like sending me his calendar, so just like jump into it anytime I wanted. And I was like normally I'd be like, who does this guy think he is? And I would like ignore him, right? But no, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go. And then I jump in front of him, and he's like, what can I do for you today, Tammy? And I said, well, there are what did I say? I said, there are I'm a high level astrologer. I know everything happening in the universe. And I know right now there are once in a lifetime portals of opportunity open for me. And you may have one. And he's like, yes, yes, I do. And then and then he put me on his team of what he calls sorcerers, of transformational coaches for
Hmm.
a couple executives. And it was like that. It was like so fast, but it was really triggering too, because it was very bold. And then it was even like I had to get past some old conditioning, like, is this even real? Right? Like, what's happening? Can I trust this? So all that stuff came up from that I had to heal in order to um take my place in this new whole other realm that
Hmm.
I didn't know existed. And to have this full support, like I'm like totally fully supported in my work, and that gave me the ability to do it so much more freely and so much more powerfully. Just that one move. Uh, so as far as like jumping timelines and portals, it's magic, right?
Yeah, it is. It
When you know
absolutely
the science,
is.
but then you're like, you follow it and you're like,
Hmm.
whoa.
I kind of relate it to this is the less fear I have, the more present I am, which I'm pretty present. I don't forget things anymore. I know how many red lights I went through on the way to work, and I'm pretty present and focused, that you start getting a God's eye view of things that almost makes you seem prescient, because you're just seeing the patterns that are going, and you say, that's not going to work out. That's probably not going to work out, but they have to live that anyway. And I think William Blake has got the big quote there: "When the doors of perception are cleansed, we'll see things as they truly are, infinite as we are seeing things through chinks in our cavern." But as we clear those things, and I think I've especially experienced that with mothers. No, I used to think my wife had rose-colored glasses on when she would look at our children and see infinite possibility for them. And I've learned since then, no, she didn't. She was seeing them through the lens of love. Because as I clarify, I get rid of the anger. Oh, we got a kitty.
You're kidding.
As I clarify the lens into love, then I can just see so much potential in the people around me that they cannot see and they cannot believe. Like, almost like that moment with the astrologer that said, "You're an astrologer." He just knew. It was like, I can see it,
Yeah,
so
he like didn't even want to give me my reading.
give me my
he's like,
reading. Give me my
he's
reading.
like, he's like, but you're an astrologer. You don't need me.
You don't need me.
Like that.
Those things to me are really magical. If you would, it sounds like it was an extremely traumatic event, the stillbirth and dying. Can you take us into that as much as you would, as much as you're comfortable
Oh,
with?
oh, of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure. So I um I had a I had a baby when I was 18. I got pregnant when I was 18, and I was 8 months pregnant. I went 8 months, and then I ended up in the hospital because I was hemorrhaging. I was hemorrhaging blood from within. And yeah, and there's nothing to be done about that. It's like we got to hurry up and get the baby out, right? But yeah, so basically I had to be delivered like 10 units of blood, 7 units of plasma, and I'm not even that big. Like I don't even hold that much blood in my body. So it was just like what was coming out, continuously flowing out, had to also be flowing in. And it was like blood was just like flowing into me and out of me, right? So I got through that, but while I was in that place, like the in between, when I was like empty, completely empty, or empty enough, I went into the other realm. I wasn't here. I was and it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful orgasmic place that you like you can't even imagine how beautiful it is. Like the colors, the richness, and just like the peacefulness, right? Just so peaceful. I wasn't there for very long, but it's really hard to describe. It's hard, so hard to describe it. But the feeling that I got was or after I came back, I wasn't gone long. After I came back was just like Like, wow, like literally everything is in perfect order. Like I had a stillborn baby, and I know people who have mourned for years and years after that. And it was so, so healing, so healing. Just like that reassurance that everything is always in perfect divine order. Um, and the way it's supposed to be, and like everything is love, right? And that's really all, that's what it was about. And it just I don't know, it was like a reset, like pushing the reset button, and just like everything was okay. I didn't have to have a hard time. Or if I did, then it's just part of it. It's part of the divine plan. It's all for our learning. We're here for our learning, right?
Uh,
To gain knowledge.
Before we started the interview, you were having technical difficulties, and after my near-death experiences, uh, you know, since there's been a miraculous transformation, electricity doesn't work very good enough. I walk into rooms, lights will just burst out. Apps that work great for everybody else will stall on me. I'll hit a recording to listen to somebody's voice message, and it doesn't play. It just happens too frequently to pretend it's just random happenstance. Are any things like that? Is the veil thinner, and so forth after that experience?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so much happening around us, so much that we don't see, right? Um, so there's always these like things that feel like glitches or interferences. Um, and they often are, they are. And yeah, interferences, glitches in the system. I mean, we're in this matrix where things are going to happen for our learning. And there are entities and there are spirits and there is, I've confronted all these things in my lifetime. And like we don't want to we want to be free of all the stuff, right? We want to be because then we can be authentic, and we're not running on like some um alien program or something. But at the same time, like it's all here for our it's like if there was only light, we'd be blind. If there was only dark, we'd be blind. Like we need both in order to have any kind of an experience. We have to experience the duality. And so, yeah, in every moment, in every delay, right? Every delay would be a gift. And I see that even like I've had a meeting that was supposed to start at a certain time, and then it would get canceled. And then it would cause like this interference and disturbance. But then the timing that it was rescheduled for was like, as an astrologer and knowing timing is everything, like I can look at someone's birth chart versus their twin sister's birth chart, and I see that like the alignments are completely different in from 5 minutes. It's like, well, what is that thing meant to be, right? And
Yeah.
maybe we got to wait 5 more minutes for it to be what it's meant to be, what it's really meant to be, because our frequencies are changing at every moment too. And so we're affecting the field. And I mean, it's all working synergistically. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely makes sense. It absolutely makes complete sense to me. I would knowing what we know about quantum entanglement and so forth, how would the universe, how would the stars, how would the energy not affect us as we are solidifying into, well, somewhat solidifying into a human physical being of what we know of physicality? I mean, now we realize that nothing's really solid that we think is solid. It's just energy moving at a certain level and so on. So,
Mhm.
people that used to consider astrology a bunch of hooey, a bunch of bunk, and so forth are now, I think that have to reconsider that some of these things. And then I always looked at like the important. You had a meme, I think, on your page that said if you want to be a millionaire, you can. If you want to be a billionaire, you need an astrologer. And it was a J.P. Morgan quote. I'm screwing it up completely, but
Yeah, James Morgan said that. Yeah, the elite have astrologers.
yeah, exactly. So I was watching the royals and the royal family of England and Europe and stuff would have their court astrologers and guiding them and so on. And enough people who had really made it were listening to it. I mean, I have one. She lives in Chicago and she advises me from time to time. We're great friends. And hi, Melissa. If she watches and gives me some nice guidance, but it's just like it was too much to ignore, pretty much, that who is actually using this. And then studying like the esoteric and so on, and starting to like look at gematria and a lot of different practices, start seeing dots connect. These dots start connecting all around, and it's incredible. What is new and creative and coming up with you, Tammy?
What's new and creative and coming up with me? Oh my goodness. Well, there's so much. Like I said, I just joined this team of transformational coaches in this whole other realm, but I still have my world for those who come see me directly, who want to work with me directly. I have I mean, I've got programs for women, like group programs for women, so that they can tune into and tap into. They can be a clear channel, and they can like tap into the cosmos, and from a shamanic perspective of the Babylonian astrologer,
Okay.
because the Babylonian astrologer is the one who uh, they were the priest consultants for royalty since the beginning. It's astrology has been diluted down, and like you said, it's been classified as pseudoscience, but for good reason. And it's because modern astrologers aren't astronomers. They're not looking at the real sky. Um, they're looking at a projected image on a screen, and um, and they're ignoring the stars, and it can keep everyone stuck in the lower level karmic loops of like the planets, the orbiting planets
Hmm.
reflect our lower level karmic loops. But whenever we go beyond as a Babylonian astrologer and we look like our ancestors did at the real sky as an astronomer, and we see all the fluctuations on the sky, all the fixed stars on the backdrop, um, everything that's infinite, and then that expands the field of potentiality. And then we don't have to be stuck in these lower level loops. So, and that's a lot of the reason why astrology, Babylonian astrology, has been locked in the dungeon for thousands of years, and it's finally been set free, so that we can come into our greatness and into our authenticity, and we can achieve our boldest desires rather than just being like, oh, I'm stuck in this loop. This is my karma and I can't get out, right? Or I can get out at this point. There will be an opportunity here, but it may never come again. Or, there's so much. But we really, yeah, for us to not be considered pseudoscientists, we got to go outside and be astronomers and remember that everything's completely different than it is on a 2D screen.
Well, it's
So
hard. It's hard too because there's so much chicanery and there's so many fakes out there, and or people that are ignorant or lack of knowledge. I find that a lot with different people that are in the manifestation field, and so I mean I've read them all. I've read Goddard, I've read Wayne Dyer, I've read all the
Mhm.
holy works, I've read Joe Dispenza and so on, and and there's certain ones, and we mentioned it earlier, that you trigger a lot of people. And usually I can find the realest people by the fact that they do say hard things that trigger others. Because it's, if like, I think if a teacher's not triggering you at all, if they're not causing you to get something stirred up, they're probably just making money for themselves and really don't care about whether you advance or not. And I've encountered that with some people that I've met that have big followings and so on, but they never say anything difficult, or hey, you're probably going to have to accept some personal responsibility in this. Some of these things that you have done, are your responsibility, and so on and so forth. So, I feel that from you. I feel the authenticity from you. And, would you say that personal responsibility is an asset and a major, part of your teaching and so forth?
Oh, absolutely. To take ownership for all of who you are and all of your triggers too, right? I mean, when we're authentic, we're going to go around triggering people because it's an activation, it's a catalyst.
Hmm.
When we're authentic, our field affects our authenticity field affects their field if they're not authentic. And then the trigger happens, right? And then, when somebody's triggered, they're gonna like get mad or project or whatever. Um, so it's fine. So I just see every trigger as like, oh, good. I just like, maybe that'll help with their healing. They can like look at that, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't see it like I don't take it personally,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's fine.
I
Yeah.
got that part of the four agreements down pretty well. I work with some of the most triggering people on earth. Some of the most entitled, some of the most mentally ill, emotionally dysregulated people. I've been spit on, I've been hit, I've been everything else. And, so if I can work in this field without getting angry, that's usually a pretty good indication of how I am. And I usually tell people, when you're seeking guides, when you're seeking teachers, don't listen primarily to what they say. Watch what they do. Watch if someone insults them. How do they take it? Watch if they have going through a challenging situation. How do they do it? Can they stay grateful even in trying circumstances, which is hard to achieve, as the things are going wrong. My wife and I, years ago, were contemplating divorce and so on. It was a very trying situation, but I meditated a lot, I thought about it a lot, and it actually made us stronger, the marriage stronger rather than weaker, because we got to look at areas of the relationship that were not working as well as they should.
Mhm.
So that really, it seemed like a terrible thing. I had become enamored with a coworker, erroneously. That I made them into something they weren't. And I didn't do it, I didn't cheat. I didn't compromise the relationship that way, but I was starting to enjoy being with this other person more than I was with my wife and so on. And when we discovered it, it was terrible for a while, but it brought us to where we are now. Um, I would like, as my closing question is always the perfect day, and I found so often now, those of us that have resolved trauma and have healed, my perfect day doesn't cost shit. I just go outside, I spend some time, I eat some pastry maybe, I binge watch a good show, I spend time with the people I love, and so on. what is your perfect day, Tammy?
Oh my goodness, my perfect day. Most of my days are pretty great, even though they're different every day,
Hmm.
right? So, um, my perfect day would actually be um like with one of my children, or with a loved one, or with a friend, it doesn't have to be the whole day, a client, um, like my community. So just like being here and getting to meet with you, it it really made my day. Meeting with
Thank you.
a potential client earlier really made my day. Just like the energy exchange, the beauty in the energy exchange really makes my day. The connection really makes my day. And just being able to like go out in the world and put myself in like a peak state, and like take care of myself at a high level, and then be able to just like go and just like be me and do what I do and have people in front of me. Like that's my perfect day.
That is awesome. When I think of communion, when I was raised Christian, and when I think of I don't think of the wafer and wine. I think of the heart connection that I get to make with a person, and it happens every day. I have a very simple prayer that I say every morning when I wake up. I make my bed, I get on my knees, and I ask, I say, please place me where I may be of good service, the best service that you need. I found that so much of my joy. I mean, it doesn't matter if I have to water a plant. It doesn't matter if I wipe down some tables. It doesn't matter if I sweep a floor. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be great service. It can just be service, And when I make myself available to serve, then I'm used to serve in the ways that I've been uniquely talented for as well. I've written 5 books. I published one, and I like the show because I just love being with new, interesting people and connecting. And is there anything that we missed that you'd like to put out there that you'd like to cover?
Hmm. I mean, this felt really good. It felt really complete and thorough. And yeah, it felt good to get to meet with you, Paul, and to get to know you. You're a
You
beautiful,
too.
bright light in the world. So your
Ditto.
presence is very important. And to have the opportunity just to like um just like because I do my best and take really good care of myself, and then show up, then I'm able to make an effect on the world for the better, because I up level myself, then the rest of the world gets to up level. Does that make sense? It's like
Makes perfect
like,
sense.
like every time, like, oh, just one person does their inner work, it like lifts the whole field.
Wayne
It
Dyer talked about that. He said, if you're at the level of like somebody that they would call master, like Christ or Krishna, or or one Lao Tzu. I think Lao Tzu just means old master, but if you're at that level, that the Buddha, your reach becomes billions. It's just, I think I'm watching The Chosen right now, which I think so far it's a great rendition of the story of Jesus Christ, and he's relatable and he's comical at times because it's like I got made by something greater than me. I came into existence through whatever, and if it made me, my authentic me, it's got a sense of humor. It's got a sense of humor. That's for darn sure. And because some of the things that come into my mind, my wife knows whether to ask me what I'm thinking about. She's like, I get the shit-eating grin on my face. She's like, I'm not even gonna ask what you're thinking about.
Oh
I've
yeah.
become self-entertaining. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've loved our time together. I'm looking forward to whatever is next coming from you. I want to keep in contact. I want to know what you're doing. I want to watch and contribute in any small way that I am able to do that, and so forth. And bless everyone that's watching this show. Thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to make some money eventually. I bring keep bringing you great guests and great content and so on. But if I never do, I'll still be happy just having these interludes, these communions with others. So thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure, Paul, and I'll give you the links to put in the description below.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, don't go anywhere, but I'm going to end recording. Thank you guys. That's a wrap for the show.